And it's 4:01 p.m. and so we're just going to go ahead and get started on our 1-hour webinar about how to celebrate Farm to School Month, which is coming up, and promote student learning. My name is Rosa Ramirez-Richter, and I'm with Healthy Schools Campaign, and we have a great lineup of two speakers today to share tips and ideas on how to make this upcoming month a great way to celebrate Farm to School. So, in terms of logistics, like I said, it'll run about for an hour. We are recording this webinar and we'll make it available online, and we'll post it on our website. At the end of the webinar, you'll have an opportunity to complete the survey at the end, and then after that, we will email clock hours to you. We'll also hold the last 15 minutes of the hour to have question and answer session, and you can ask questions through our chat function, which is on your screen. And just feel free throughout, anytime if you have questions or an idea that comes up, please chat it to us, and we'll make sure we create a list for the last 15 minutes. So again, we have a great lineup. We have Christy Cox with the Healthy Schools Campaign, and Tara DeClemente with Chicago Public Schools, their Office of Nutrition Support Services, and Office of Student Health and Wellness, I should say. Okay, and so in terms of the hour that we're looking at, we'll quickly dive into sharing a little bit about Healthy Schools Campaign, what is our Fit to Learn program in case this is the first time you're joining us. A quick overview of what is Farm to School. When we use that term, what exactly do we mean and why is it important? And then Tara will share an overview of how the Farm to School program works at Chicago Public Schools, and then give you a great idea on how to organize a great apple crunch activity at your school. All right, without further ado, I'll pass it on to Christy Cox.
Thanks, Rosa. As Rosa mentioned, my name is Christy Cox. I'm the Training and Program Manager for Healthy Schools Campaign, and I run the Fit to Learn program, which will be explained to you shortly if you're not familiar. I quickly want to just give you a little bit of information about the Healthy Schools Campaign so you know who we are. We've been around for over 10 years, and we do work both at the state and national level. But most of our work has been focused on efforts in Chicago, where we've worked to improve food and fitness in the public schools. Our programs focus on identifying and supporting agents of change, so that includes parents, teachers, students, principals, school nurses, and we help them make changes at their schools and the district. Through our work, we've had the opportunity to see how federal and state and local decisions impact schools. And we've come to understand the importance of empowering individuals to be change agents. So the need for teachers, principals, and other school staff to have knowledge and skills to create the conditions for health in classrooms and schools. We just feel like it's really important to empower everyone who's in the school building. At Healthy Schools Campaign, we work on promoting programs and policies to improve the school environment, from air quality and reducing exposure to toxic chemicals, to supporting improved nutrition standards and increased access to physical activity. Our programs work to address health disparities around asthma and obesity that affect too many of our students right now. Quickly, I'd like to tell you about the Fit to Learn program. So when we talk about empowering students, parents, nurses, we also focus on teachers, and the reason we do that is because teachers are incredible role models for our students and spend a significant amount of time every day with these students. So we feel that they play a key role in promoting student wellness since they spend so much time with them. We created the Fit to Learn program for this reason. We wanted to be able to help teachers identify ways to integrate health and wellness messaging into the existing curriculum, and we do this by connecting teachers with program providers, tools, and resources that will help them make those changes on a daily basis. We believe that healthy students are better learners and have done a lot of research around that in we haven't done research, but we have found a lot of research that supports that statement. So through the Fit to Learn program, we know that we can give these teachers all the tools that they need in order to help their students become more healthy. It's a free professional development we offer all Chicago teachers, and we also support parent education programs as well. We know that a lot of the efforts that teachers make in their classroom also need to be supported by parents, and so we work on that through partnering with our other program called Parents United for Healthier Schools. And we also do a lot of local and national school food and fitness advocacy. If you would like to learn more about Healthy Schools Campaign and or the Fit to Learn program, please log on to our website, healthyschoolscampaign.org, and you will find lots of information there that will help you learn more about what we do. We are going to launch our first poll question. So Rosa alluded to this earlier. So you will see a poll question pop up. Are you familiar with the Farm to School program? So this is just a simple yes or no question, and hopefully it's posted for you. If it didn't, it will in a minute. So once you see that poll question, please feel free to answer. It's going to be a yes or no answer. We just want to know how familiar people are with the Farm to School program.
So it looks like 67% of you guys are pretty familiar with it, but a third, 33% are, this is a new area, so we'll be addressing that.
Great. So we're here to share a little bit more about what the Farm to School program is. I'm going to share just some general overview information about the national work that goes on around Farm to School, and then Tara is going to speak specifically about the work that CPS does with the Farm to School program. So Farm to School, it's a program here in the United States which focuses on connecting schools with local farmers. The idea is for schools to buy and feature locally produced foods, which also enriches the connection between communities with where their food comes from. It's pretty amazing how many children don't know where their food comes from. A lot of times they think it comes from a bag. They don't realize that a lot of their vegetables are grown in the ground. So we feel it's really important to help educate students on that. And there's a lot of benefits to that we'll speak about shortly. But there's a procurement where local foods are purchased, promoted hopefully through the cafeteria or as a snack. There's education work that goes around that by integrating activities related to agriculture, food, health, or nutrition. And then there's also a connection to school gardens. And again, Tara will talk about how that works specifically in the CPS realm. So again, students gain access to healthy foods. They can learn more about school gardens, cooking lessons, field trips. It's a really wonderful way for students to learn more about the connection between where their food comes from, especially when they have that knowledge, they're more likely to eat that food. So those connections are really important to maintaining health and nutrition. So how does Healthy Schools Campaign work within the school nutrition area? I want to share with you some things really quickly on what we do with Farm to School. So we influence food policy, and the way we do that is we've worked really closely with Chicago Public Schools to transform their food program, and promoting local procurement has been a priority. So we've worked with CPS to become a leader in Farm to School work, and they've done a great job of sourcing frozen produce and antibiotic-free chicken. We also inform by healthy learning habits. So Fit to Learn program, I spoke about that just a few moments ago, and that's a professional development that we offer Chicago teachers. And the way we do that is we have lesson plans that incorporate information about healthy foods and nutrition into the classroom experience. So teaching students where their foods come from and how it's grown, why to eat local and nutritious food is really important. We also cook up change, and you see this amazing picture on your right with students featuring some of the food that they've cooked. We host an annual cooking contest that happens in Chicago. We're celebrating our 10th year here. And it's a contest that challenges high school culinary students to create a healthy, tasty meal that their peers will enjoy. And there's a lot of structure around that by meeting high nutritional requirements. They have a budgetary requirement they have to meet for about $1.25 a meal. And in this competition, they're also challenged with incorporating local flavor or flair, but specifically at least one local ingredient must be used. We also transform schoolyards. So we do work with open lands, transforming schoolyards into places where students and community members can learn how to grow their own food. And this also allows them to engage in nutrition education at their neighborhood schools. And finally, we work with parents by activating Chicago parents around school health and wellness. We have our program called Parents United for Healthier Schools, and we provide parents with training and resources that they would need to have a strong voice on these issues, which is really important when we're working with CPS and their implementation of the Farm to School program. So we've got our hands in a lot, and we think it's really important work, and hopefully you do too. But we want to give Tara a chance to speak about all the amazing work that they do at CPS. So as Rosa mentioned, we have Tara DiClemente, who's the manager of health promotion at CPS, specifically works within the Office of Student Health and Wellness. So I'm going to turn this over to Tara. Thanks for joining us.
Great, thank you, and thank you all again for joining. I'm going to start today with a brief overview of school food within CPS, just to kind of lay the land for what we do every day, and then I'll go into a bit of our specifics with Farm to School. So Christy, if you just want to bring up my slides. Perfect, and you could go to the second one. So each year we serve about 75 million meals, and we do have 396,000 students in the district, and we serve about 367,000 meals per day. So just under a meal per student per day. All of our meals are free as part of community eligibility option, and they do meet or exceed USDA standards. And this is really important to us because along with Farm to School, we want to make sure that the food we are providing to our students is the healthiest it can be, and then also adding in making these learning connections and making sure we're supporting the local economy through some of our local purchases and local procurement. And then we do a lot of community engagement around our priorities within the school meal program. We actually just had a meeting earlier this morning. We're doing some parent groups and some student groups as well. Next slide. The theory behind our approach to Farm to School is really connecting procurement or the purchasing of local food with promotion of the healthy food and then education around it. And you can see that our goal is connecting these three areas within the school building: the dining center, the garden, and the classroom. And our idea behind this is that it not only to ourselves sometimes makes those obvious learning connections, but it also really gives students the chance to experience things several times. We all know, working with students, that just telling them something one time is not going to make it sink in, and it's not going to necessarily create a shift in their eating or healthy behaviors. And then we also know we have students with different learning styles. So some of our students are going to need to write about it in the classroom or to read about it. Some of our students are going to actually really need to sow the seeds and do the gardening and see the foods grow. And then some of our students need to taste the food, to really experience the food. And some of our students will appreciate learning from all three of those styles. So we like to draw those connections and make sure that the messages are being reiterated throughout the school building. Next slide. This slide is just meant to give a little sense of background. I'm not going to read all of the points, and you'll see it ends at February 2015, and clearly we've continued a lot of work past then, but sometimes it's hard for us to remember where this all began. It's been such a fast track, but really the USDA awarded us with a Farm to School grant in October of 2012, and that's what kicked a lot of this work off. The grant was made to specifically do our Eat What You Grow program, which some of you may be familiar with, but this program actually allows schools to grow garden produce, safely harvested and incorporated into the school meals. So this is our gold standard for farm to school education. We have so many schools who have done this. They've grown batches of lettuce or herbs and spices, and then we're able to incorporate them into the school meal program, and it just gives such a great learning opportunity. Well, from there, we really realized there were a lot of gardens in ill repair in our district, and there was a lot of push from community members to do local procurement, and we really were not doing that with the most fidelity. So as you can see, a lot of things sort of, the dominoes effect started in that 2012. We then hired our school garden coordinator, Drew Thomas. He's still on staff with us. He's so great with working with our schools in their gardens. And then you can see we've sort of gone down the path of different iterations of farm to school work, and we now have this great farm to school program, which I'll talk more about in the next few slides. So Christy, you can go to the next farm to school in practice. So being a part of our farm to school cohort, what that means is that you will receive regular communications and newsletters, and so we send this out at least every month, but sometimes more often if there's special events happening. And in this newsletter, we show what all of the local menu items will be for the month. So this way, our idea is that if in the classroom the teacher is saying, okay, today you're having local corn, there's a just very natural opportunity to talk about the importance of vegetables, or to talk about how corn grows, or that corn is a Midwest product. So you could really do different education just by knowing what's on the menu. And then we also advertise our farmer visits, which you'll see some pictures coming up, but we do like to bring our producers to the school. And then when possible, we do like bringing our students out to farms for field trips. But we think this is such an important connection. Living in Chicago, you can get really used to buildings and concrete and not understanding what a farm would look like, even though we're right here in the heart of the Midwest. Our students have grown up in the city, and not all of them have traveled outside of the city or have traveled to rural areas. So we think it's important to, as Christy talked about earlier, just help students visualize what does it actually look like for our food to grow. How did this potato get to me? It didn't come out of the ground chopped up like a French fry, right? So we want to show them it started as a little chunk of a potato, and it grows eyes, and the eyes are roots, and just really making that connection and letting students know how our food starts. And then in this newsletter, we also do promote, if we have any resources available, we're constantly writing grants in our department or looking for donations for curriculum or garden tools, and we like to advertise that and get those out to schools. Next slide. So this is a picture of Will Allen from Growing Power, and if you're familiar with Growing Power, and I'm sorry for reiterating this, but if you're not, Growing Power and Will Allen specifically, he started this urban farming in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He's a former NBA player, but his family grew up as farmers, and he really could see that children and adults alike in urban areas were having limited access to fresh produce because of the lack of farmland. So he does so much great work. And then his daughter actually is here in Chicago, and she does a lot of great work as well. And in Chicago, they do very interesting youth hiring and projects, and so there'll be recent CPS grads will work on these urban farms, and then we have those grads go out to our high schools and talk about what they're learning, and if they really commit to working on this farm, then Will Allen will pay for their college. So it's really interesting. He really wants to encourage urban youth to consider farming and to consider the unique aspect of growing our food, and that he teaches them the business side of it, that it's not just growing food, that there's a lot to it. So this is a picture of him with some students at a school, but just wanted to give you a little more background about him. Next slide. Our goals in the classroom visits are that prior to the visit, we do try to we either send out a lesson or we touch base with the teacher to say, what are you teaching about, so that we can sort of connect the visit and not make it something that seems sort of out of the blue or random to our students. But so we want to make sure there's curricular connections, and then also we do try to do some in-classroom tastings as well, and when that local food becomes available. And then also we have communications for teachers and staff, whether that's videos or tips and lessons, and so we make those resources available to schools as well. Next slide. Something really exciting that we started last year and we're trying to grow every single year is a cooking in the classroom. And to be clear, this is no heat cooking, so we're not having any food safety issues outside of making sure we're washing and cleaning everything. But we have had some funders either provide us money or provide us cooking kits to give out to schools. What we do then is provide a recipe and a lesson to go along with it. And the idea is maybe your garden, maybe you have a lot of classrooms interested in the garden and they all don't want to grow lettuce. Some want to grow peas, some want to grow sweet potatoes, some want to grow carrots. So we wanted to make sure that for that school who is Eat What You Grow certified but perhaps not going to have enough food to put into the dining center, that there's still the opportunity for tastings in the classroom. And so that's what the cooking kit really allows. So let's say if in math you're learning about fractions, you could do a cooking lesson with, what's a half a cup, a fourth a cup. The same with finding out nutrients or calories from fat, etc. So there's plenty of ways to connect to Common Core standards, so this should never be seen as something additional. Nutrition education can fit into every core subject, and these cooking kits really give a great venue for that classroom farm to school experience. Next slide. And then in farm to dining center, so we just went over farm to classroom. In farm to dining center, this is the most obvious place where our local food lives, because we as a district are procuring locally. We have fresh and frozen items, so we have fresh local items at least twice per month. We have frozen local items every week, and often we have them more than once a week. For example, all of our green beans are local, all of our corn, all of our frozen carrots, all of those are local all year round. And then we do have twice a month local antibiotic-free chicken drumsticks. And the most exciting thing about that is that not only is it a great product, but it is one of those items that's always scratch cooked, and it just really, our students, it's a favorite item and it's delicious, and we try it with a lot of different sauces and spices, and it goes over really well. We like to promote this, obviously not just through the menu itself, but we have signage on the line. We do try to make some special placards or things to say these carrots traveled from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 90 miles away. Do a little map. We also often try to do samples, so when, of course, funding and time allows, we like to have a little bit of a sample for students to try, because not every student is going to look at something and say, well, I've never had golden beets, I don't know how they taste, so instead of taking that and maybe I don't like it and I'm still hungry, I'm going to take the carrot sticks, which I always like. So we want to make sure that there's a tasting opportunity for those students to try it before they go through the line, because we know that our students really eat out of habit and to, meet their basic needs of hunger. And then all of our farm to school purchases are tracked on cpsfarmtoschoolmarket.com, which I know is a mouthful, but everything on there, it really shows you every month what we're serving, and then it shows you the totals year over year. Next slide. And then this slide just shows you when you're looking at the menu. Now, of course, after I made this presentation, we just updated how the menus look, but it's the same idea. They just don't have this 12 spot on them anymore. Anytime there's a local item, we place a red L or the word local next to that item so that people can easily identify which item is coming from what area. And I should note that we consider local to be within 350 miles from Chicago, which, if you can imagine, Chicago is pretty large, so it takes a good amount of miles just to get out of the city and the suburbs. And so we used to have a shorter radius, but we realized we could get a lot more local if we opened that up to 350. Next slide. I did want to tell you, and Christy's going to go over resources for the Great Apple Crunch later, but I did just want to tell you a couple of key dates to keep in mind as you're doing some farm to school efforts at your school. The first one is October 6th will be Midwest Menu Day, and on this day we will have our local ABF chicken, we'll have a local apple, local green beans, and local broccoli slaw, and we have committed to match the same menu with Minneapolis, St. Paul, Des Moines, Detroit, and Cleveland. And I'm missing one, and I'm sorry to that school district. There's 7 of us. Omaha. And so all of us are on a group together with School Food Focus, and we've all committed to serve the same menu on October 6th. So that's something exciting, our students knowing that in those 6 other cities, all the students will be eating the same thing. Then on October 13th, all students K through 12 will receive a whole Macintosh apple as part of their lunch, as part of the Great Apple Crunch. And it may have to run differently at every school, just depending on when students eat. But we'll be forthcoming with some ideas, and then obviously Christy will have a bunch of great ideas at the end of this. And then on October 19th, we will be serving local corn. That's actually a Cooking Up Change recipe. So as Christy mentioned, Cooking Up Change is a great initiative that Healthy Schools Campaign works on. We're student-inspired menu items, and we will be having this delicious corn salad with red onion and cilantro, and the corn will be local. So we're excited to feature that student, and it's from George Washington High School. Next slide. So the next few slides are sort of, this is the last one, I'm sorry, with Dining Center. So this just shows some other ideas at schools where students have done Eat What You Grow. The dining staff has printed off pictures of the students harvesting and also of the dining staff cleaning the garden produce, and then right above where it will be on the line. So we call these photo journals, and it's just another exciting way to engage students and to show them that the produce that they grew in the garden is now part of the school meal program. Next slide. And so this is really our idea, is that when we don't live in a rural area and there's not always an opportunity for the students to take a field trip to a farm, so we like to say the farm as the school garden. And so thinking about just if you have more space to grow, or you have a lot of interest from community members, what would it look like to grow more, or to just really plan out how you grow. So we have some schools. We have 2 large production schools, Chicago High School for Agriculture, which is a farm, a production farm. And then we have Southside Occupational, which also is a sort of small production. It's not exactly a farm, but they do have apple trees, and they grow some of the most produce. And other schools are catching up, so I'm sorry if you're from another school that's growing a lot, and I'm not mentioning you, but those 2 specifically are growing a lot of produce. And so it's been really fun to see how that works out. Next slide. We have a lot of CPS school gardens. We have 412 to be exact, and not all of them are growing food, but we do want to encourage schools that have a garden to be growing food and to be using it to meet that nutrition education requirement, but also to just be doing that food education for our students who, as I've mentioned many times, just in an urban setting, it seems so distant. So you can always go to the Chicago Urban Agriculture Mapping Project, which is abbreviated as QUAMP, which I think is the worst acronym, but I'm just telling you when you look it up, and this will actually tell you where all the school gardens are. So if you have a school garden and you are not represented on here, or it's not the right information, definitely let me know and we can update it. But this was something very exciting because a lot of community organizations have been reaching out to us expressing their interest in helping with our school gardens, and then really asking, but where are they? And we wanted to show they're all over the city. So if you're looking to work in one area, you're going to have school gardens in that area. Next slide. This is about the Eat What You Grow program. So I've mentioned this a couple of times, but here, just to reiterate and give a little bit more information, in order to eat out of your school garden, you must have gone through this training. And we offer this training at least 4 times a year. It's about 2 hours after school. Drew Thomas leads it. He's really fun and awesome, and he really makes it hands-on so that you feel you learn a lot about gardening, not just about the Eat What You Grow program. But this is, as I said, the way you'll be able to serve in the dining center, and it's based on the USDA Good Agricultural Practices, or GAP program, so it's really food safety oriented, and it helps teachers and school garden leads and parents just feel a lot better about serving that garden produce. It just gives you some very simple steps to follow to keep everybody safe, hands clean, produce clean, make sure nothing happens from eating out of the garden. That would just be the last thing we wanted to do. We don't want to turn students off of eating healthy food because somebody didn't wash their hands or someone didn't wash the pruning shears or something. So like I said, we offer that workshop, and we do run those dates and locations and times in the Farm to School newsletter if you're interested in joining that. So next slide. And then we try to do a fair amount of special events, and so a lot of times for as you can imagine, the harvest, not many schools have multiple harvests per season. You know, our growing seasons are short here in the Midwest, so we do try to make it a special event when there's a harvest. So that could be just with, like I said, with tastings and signs and promotion, but we also have been able to do some harvesting of local produce for things like parent workshops or family night. So just understanding when there's a special event, finding a way to incorporate farm to school, or definitely to incorporate the garden, so that everyone thinks of the garden and the dining center as a fundamental part of the school. Next slide. And then these are great pictures from a school who went seed to harvest, and so you can see them growing their lettuce and then harvesting it. They weighed it out to put into their food safety log, and then there it was on the plate for the students to enjoy. And so this is really happening, and we have so many pictures like this that we could pick from. It's just, you can see the students are engaged and excited. Next slide. Something else we've been working with our culinary program to do is do sort of these mini field trips from elementary schools to our culinary high schools. And it's been something fun because a lot of times the students from elementaries are going into these programs, but then also sometimes they didn't even know these programs existed. And then it's really fun to watch high school students do a cooking demonstration for elementary students. And we all know from either being young and sort of idolizing high school students, or from working with younger or older students, that it's just the opportunity for our high school students to be looked up to, and the opportunity for our elementary school students to look up to our high school students, such a cute and rewarding opportunity. And we've had a couple of these, and they're very fun, and this is also something available if you're interested in a walking field trip, we call it. And the next slide. The final initiative that we just started this school year, we opened 2 school-based farmers markets, one at Laviso Elementary and one at Johnson in North Lawndale. And they started, Laviso started the week before, back to school, and then Johnson on the first day. And so we're in our second and third week, respectively. These have been so awesome, and this is something that we as an office have been dreaming of and writing grants for the whole time I've been here now, about 4 years. I think I've written 5 to 6 grants to get these started, and finally the city agreed that this was a good idea, and they ended up funding them for us for 3 years. They've made a commitment. So if you're in these areas or want to travel to these areas, please visit them. I can share the information with Christy to send out. But it's really, what we think is exciting is there are farmers markets throughout the city, but they do really skew to the north side, and our food access is so limited, skewing west and south. And so to be able to bring fresh local produce to these two areas that are considered to have low healthy food access is important to us, but also to capitalize on that end of school day when families are there and socializing. Pardon me. Sorry about that. When families are there and socializing and they're in a natural space to learn about healthy food and learn about healthy eating. And so that's my last slide. The next slide just gives our general office information, which we do check. We just don't like giving specific people in case we're out or busy, and there's so many people working on this farm to school effort. So please feel free to reach out to me.
Thanks a lot, Tara. Hopefully you all received enough information in regards to all the work that we're doing around farm to school. And I'm so sorry if we didn't mention, National Farm to School Month happens in October. And so we wanted to give everyone plenty of time and notice so that they could start planning right away. We know you guys like to integrate a lot of this into your instructional time. So you've got some time. It's next month, and should be a big success for everyone. So I want to quickly talk to you a little bit about the Great Apple Crunch. As Tara mentioned, that's happening October 13th, so the same month as National School Food. And it's a really fun event. I hadn't heard of it up until a couple years ago, and I got a call from a teacher who was trying to figure out how she could source some whole apples for her big crunch. So the event itself originated in New York in 2012, and it was a way to promote healthy eating and connecting local farmers and produce with schools across the area. And the goal is to have participants crunch into an apple at the same time. And so I'm going to share some resources with you here in a few moments where you can learn more about it. But they love to have people record the crunch, videotape it, take pictures, and then promote it. And it's a fun way to get kids interested in eating more healthy. Who doesn't like it? I mean, I think most kids like apples, so that's really, it's an easy fruit to promote, and it's seasonal. So for us, a lot of our apples are going to come from Michigan. It's the perfect time to get a really incredible apple. If you want to learn how to register for the Great Apple Crunch, if you see this website, IllinoisGreatAppleCrunch.com, you can register your school directly on that website, and they'll provide you with posters and resources to promote the event within your school. So how can you support the Great Apple Crunch? Well, there's some really fun things that you can do with your students to help them get more engaged with locally procured foods. And one way to do that is to do a field trip to an apple orchard. And there are plenty around the immediate area. The Chicago suburbs have several. There's also fun like corn mazes you can take your kids through. So that is a really fun way to help them connect to their food by taking them to an apple orchard. You can also have a creative apple snack in the classroom. So I know peanut butter is a no-no in schools. Sun butter is very friendly for kids who have sensitivities, and I myself have dipped it in apples, and it's awesome. Or dip my apples in sun butter. So that's a great way you can explore bringing that into your classroom. You can also integrate a fruit-based lesson plan. And so at Fit to Learn, we've shared a lot of lesson plans with teachers who've been through the program, and one is called Fruit or Not, and it's a fun way to help students identify the difference between fruits and vegetables. That lesson plan is also STEM aligned, so if you're a STEM-based school and you're like, oh, this is great, I would love to do this, but how can I integrate my math or science into this lesson plan? We've done it for you. And if that's something you're interested in, my contact information is at the end of the presentation. You can email me and I'm happy to send you that lesson plan for no problem. Also, take a walk out to your school garden. If you have one, it's a great opportunity to show kids where their food comes from. It's a fun way to just get outside and do lessons outside. We encourage that for sure. You can also do some craft projects around it, and then also read a book about apples, or I'm sure there are plenty in the local library or in your school library, so for sure check that out. I want to give you some websites to connect with so that you can get even more information about these incredible opportunities next month. So you can visit Farm to School Network at farmtoschool.org. There's also the Illinois Farm to School Network. We have Food Day, which is a great place to check out, and they have a lot of information about the Great Apple Crunch. And then there is also the Illinois Great Apple Crunch, and I shared the website with you. This is specifically this link will take you directly to registering your school for the Great Apple Crunch Day, which is for sure going to be a lot of fun. All right, our last poll question of the afternoon is, do you plan to bring the Great Apple Crunch to your school? So let me launch that question. Sorry, I'm on my own right now, so just answer yes or no. We just want to know if anyone out there is interested in participating in the Great Apple Crunch. We think it'll be a lot of fun for your students, and will make, break up your day, make it a little bit more interesting, and it's, great to see everyone is really interested in participating in the Great Apple Crunch. So that's great to hear. We also want to give you guys a few minutes for questions. So on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, you should see a chat box. So if you have any questions, please start typing away. And I'll give you guys a moment to type those in. Looks like we're getting a couple questions. So Tara, if you can join us again, unmute yourself. One of the questions that came up is, how do you request a farmer to visit your school?
Great question. So if you join the Farm to School newsletter, we put in there sort of a general request, do you want a farmer to come to your school? And then we go through that list, and we really do try to honor everyone who put in a request throughout the year. We do one farmer visit a month, and what they do is go to 3 schools and 3 classrooms within the school. So if you join the Farm to School newsletter, which I'll send Christy that information, or you can just email that oshw@cps.edu, we will add you on there.
Excellent. I recognize, what's the gentleman's name who's the farmer in Wisconsin that you showed?
Will Allen.
Yeah, Will Allen. There's a really fun children's book that was written about his story, and gives teachers a great opportunity to learn more about him, which is really cool. So you should definitely look for that children's book. I can't remember what it's called, but if you're interested, for sure ask me, and I'll share the title with you. But we auction that off we raffle that off at our Fit to Learn training in the summertime. So for sure, if you want to get more information on that or have an opportunity to participate in a raffle, come to our training. Another question. Can you, Tara, I don't know if you know, but do you have the date for the next Eat What You Grow training?
Ooh. Not offhand, but Drew just told me when it was. Let me see what's on it.
True. Okay, well, we can come back to that, or I can share that information in the follow-up email that we'll send out. Last question, Tara. So the question was, where can I get apples for the Great Apple Crunch? So say they didn't, I know you said whole Macintosh apples are going to be served with the meal that day. Are they able, if they wanted to participate in the Great Apple Crunch and do like videos or pictures, how could they do that? Could they have their kids take that apple back to their classroom, or is there a way for them to get more apples? I don't know if you have information on that.
Yeah, they would have to have it in the dining center. That's a good question. I can talk with some of my colleagues here about if for that day they wanted to bring it back to their classroom or get it earlier. I can ask, yeah. Okay,
great. And again, we'll include that information in the follow-up email, which we'll send it out in about a week. In that email, you'll get a link to this webinar. So if you have friends who are interested and weren't able to participate, you can share the link. Embedded in that email, I'll also include some answers specifically about when the next training is for the Eat What You Grow program, and where you can get apples, or specifically if you want to take those back to your classroom, how that might happen. Well, that wraps up our, I lied, almost. The last thing I want to share will be the upcoming professional development opportunities we offer all teachers. So whether you're in the Fit to Learn program currently or have been in the past, we have these great opportunities coming up in regards to Fit to Learn professional development. So we'll have a 2-hour session on integrating physical activity in the classroom. That'll happen at McCormick Elementary on Wednesday, September 28th from 4 to 6. We have visitors from Urban Initiatives, Girls in the Game, Chicago Run. They're all going to come and talk about the programs that they offer and then give you tips and tricks to integrate physical activity in the classroom. We'll have another webinar on healthy celebrations and rewards. It will not be a 2-hour webinar as it says here. It'll actually just be an hour like this one. We want to give you guys some ideas on how to celebrate Halloween and the holidays that are coming up in a healthy way. We're also going to work with Carla Tantillo from Mindful Practices both in October and December. So social emotional learning is a big buzzword right now. We want to help teachers learn more about that and how to create lesson plans integrating social emotional learning. And then we'll have yoga in the classroom on Thursday, December 8th. So those will both be facilitated by Carla Tantillo from Mindful Practices. Locations for those last two are TBD. But teachers will receive clock hours for participating in those sessions. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at christy@healthyschoolscampaign.org. I'm here to support teachers in Chicago or anywhere if you're not from Chicago. But for sure, if you have any questions, you want access to lesson plans or any other materials that I can share, I'm happy to do it. With that, we want to thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Again, we will share a link for this recorded webinar in a future email. So everyone take care. Thanks, Tara, for your time, and we'll be sure to talk to you soon.
Thanks. Bye.